Friday, May 5th, 1944. Dear Kitty, Daddy is not pleased with me. He thought that after our talk on Sunday I automatically wouldn't go upstairs every evening. He doesn't want any necking, a word I can't bear. It was bad enough talking about it. Why must he make it so unpleasant now? I shall talk to him today. Margot has given me some good advice, so listen. This is roughly what I want to say. I believe, Daddy, that you expect a declaration from me, so I will give it to you. You are disappointed in me, as you had expected more reserve from me, and I suppose you want me to be just as a 14-year-old should be. But that's where you're mistaken. Since we've been here, from July 1942 until a few weeks ago, I can assure you that I haven't had any easy time. If you only knew how I cried in the evenings, how unhappy I was, how lonely I felt, then you would understand that I want to go upstairs. I have now reached the stage where I can live entirely on my own, without Mummy's support or anyone else's for that matter. But it hasn't just happened in a night. It's been a bitter, hard struggle, and I've shed many a tear before I became as independent as I am now. You can laugh at me and not believe me, but that can't harm me. I know that I'm a separate individual, and I don't feel in the least bit responsible to any of you. I am only telling you this because I thought that otherwise you might think that I was underhand. But I don't have to give an account of my deeds to anyone but myself. When I was in difficulties, you all closed your eyes and stopped up your ears and didn't help me. On the contrary, I received nothing but warnings not to be so boisterous. I was only boisterous so as not to be miserable all the time. I was reckless so as not to hear that persistent voice within me continually. I played a comedy for a year and a half, day in, day out. I never grumbled, never lost my cue, nothing like that. And now the battle is over. I have won. I am independent both in mind and body. I don't need a mother anymore, for all this conflict has made me strong. And now that I'm on top of it, now that I know that I've fought the battle, now I want to be able to go on in my own way too, the way that I think is right. You can't and mustn't regard me as 14, for all these troubles have made me older. I shall not be sorry for what I have done, but shall act as I think I can. You can't coax me into not going upstairs. Either you forbid it, or you trust me through thick and thin. But then, leave me in peace as well. Yours, Anne. Saturday, May 6th. Dear Kitty, I put a letter, in which I wrote what I explained to you yesterday, in Daddy's pocket before supper yesterday. After reading it, he was, according to Margot, very upset for the rest of the evening. I was upstairs doing the dishes. Poor Pim. I might have known what the effect of such an epistle would be. He's so sensitive. I immediately told Peter not to ask or say anything more. Pim hasn't said any more about it to me. Is that yet in store, I wonder? Here, everything is going on more or less normally again. What they tell us about the prices and the people outside is almost unbelievable. Half a pound of tea costs 350 florins. A florin is equal to approximately 28 cents. A pound of coffee, 80 florins. Butter, 35 florins per pound. An egg, 1.5 florin. People pay 14 florins for an ounce of Bulgarian tobacco. Everyone deals in the black market. Every errand boy has something to offer. Our baker's boy got hold of some sewing silk. 0.9 florin for a thin little skein. The milkman manages to get clandestine ration cards. The undertaker delivers the cheese. Burglaries, murders, and theft go on daily. The police and night watchmen join in just as strenuously as the professionals. Everyone wants something in their empty stomachs, and because wage increases are forbidden, the people simply have to swindle. The police are continually on the go, tracing girls of 15, 16, 17, or older who are reported missing every day. Yours, Anne. Sunday morning, May 7th. Dear Kitty, Daddy and I had a long talk yesterday afternoon. I cried terribly, and he joined in. Do you know what he said to me, Kitty? I have received many letters in my life, but this is certainly the most unpleasant. You, Anne, who have received such love from your parents. You, who have parents who are always ready to help you, who have always defended you, whatever it might be. Can you talk of feeling no responsibility toward us? You feel wronged and deserted. No, Anne, you have done us a great injustice. Perhaps you didn't mean it like that, but it is what you wrote. No, Anne, we haven't deserved such a reproach as this. Oh, I have failed miserably, This is certainly the worst thing I've ever done in my life. I was only trying to show off with my crying and my tears, just trying to appear big so that he would respect me. Certainly, I have had a lot of unhappiness, but to accuse the good Pym, who has done and still does do everything for me, no, that was too low for words. It's right that for once I've been taken down from my inaccessible pedestal, that my pride has been shaken a bit, for I was becoming much too taken up with myself again. What Miss Anne does is by no means always right. Anyone who can cause such unhappiness to someone else, someone he professes to love, and on purpose too, is low, very low. And the way Daddy has forgiven me makes me feel more than ever ashamed of myself. He's going to throw the letter in the fire and is so sweet to me now, just as if he had done something wrong. No, Anne, you still have a tremendous lot to learn. Begin by doing that first, instead of looking down on others and accusing them. I've had a lot of sorrow, but who hasn't at my age? I've played the clown a lot too, but I was hardly conscious of it. I felt lonely, but hardly ever in despair. I ought to be deeply ashamed of myself, and indeed I am. What is done cannot be undone, but one can prevent it happening again. I want to start from the beginning again, and it can't be difficult. Now that I have Peter, with him to support me, I can and will. I'm not alone anymore. He loves me. I love him. I have my books, my storybook, and my diary. I'm not so frightfully ugly, not utterly stupid, have a cheerful temperament, and want to have a good character. Yes, Anne, you felt deeply that your letter was too hard and that it was untrue. To think that you were ever proud of it. I will take Daddy as my example, and I will improve. Yours, Anne. Monday, May 8th. Dear Kitty, have I ever really told you anything about our family? I don't think I have, so I will begin now. My father's parents were very rich. His father had worked himself right up, and his mother came from a prominent family who were also rich. So in his youth, Daddy had a real little rich boy's upbringing. Parties every week, balls, festivals, beautiful girls, dinners, a large home, etc., etc. After Grandpa's death, all the money was lost during the World War and the inflation that followed. Daddy was therefore extremely well brought up, and he laughed very much yesterday when, for the first time in his 55 years, he scraped out the frying pan at table. Mummy's parents were rich too, and we often listened open-mouthed to stories of engagement parties of 250 people, private balls, and dinners. One certainly could not call us rich now, but all my hopes are pinned on after the war. I can assure you I'm not at all keen on a narrow, cramped existence like Mummy and Margot. I'd adore to go to Paris for a year, and London for a year, to learn the languages and study the history of art. Compare that with Margot, who wants to be a midwife in Palestine. I always long to see beautiful dresses and interesting people. I want to see something of the world, and do all kinds of exciting things. I've already told you this before, and a little money as well wouldn't do any harm. Meep told us this morning about a party she went to celebrate an engagement. Both the future bride and bridegroom came from rich families, and everything was grand. Meep made our mouths water telling us about the food they had. Vegetable soup with minced meatballs in it, cheese, rolls, hors d'oeuvres with eggs and roast beef, fancy cakes, wine and cigarettes, as much as you wanted of everything. Black market. Meep had 10 drinks. Can that be the woman who calls herself a teetotaler? If Meep had all those, I wonder however many her spouse managed to knock back. Naturally, everyone at the party was a bit tipsy. There were 2 policemen from the fighting squad who took photos of the engaged couple. It seems as if we are never far from Meep's thoughts, because she took down the addresses of these men at once, in case anything should happen at some time or other, and good Dutchmen might come in useful. She made our mouths water. We, who get nothing but 2 spoonfuls of porridge for our breakfast, and whose tummies were so empty that they were positively rattling. We, who get nothing but half-cooked spinach to preserve the vitamins, and rotten potatoes day after day. We, who get nothing but lettuce, cooked or raw, spinach and yet again spinach in our hollow stomachs. Perhaps we may yet grow to be as strong as Popeye, although I don't see much sign of it at present. If Meep had taken us to the party, we shouldn't have left any rolls for the other guests. I can tell you, we positively drew the words from Meep's lips. We gathered round her as if we had never heard about delicious food or smart people in our lives before. And these are the granddaughters of a millionaire. The world is a queer place. Yours, Anne. Tuesday, May 9th. Dear Kitty, I've finished my story of Ellen the Fairy. I've copied it out on nice note paper. It certainly looks very attractive. But is it really enough for Daddy's birthday? I don't know. Margot and Mummy have both written poems for him. Mr. Crawler came upstairs this afternoon with the news that Mrs. B, who used to act as demonstrator for the business, wants to eat her box lunch in the office here at 2 o'clock every afternoon. Think of it. No one can come downstairs anymore. The potatoes cannot be delivered. Ellie can't have any lunch. We can't go to the WC. We mustn't move, etc., etc. We thought up the wildest and most varied suggestions to wheedle her away. Van Dawn thought that a good laxative in her coffee would be sufficient. No, replied Coophouse, I beg of you not. Then we'd never get her off the box. Resounding laughter. Off the box? Asked Mrs. Van Dawn. What does that mean? An explanation followed. Can I always use it? She then asked stupidly. Imagine it, Ellie giggled. If one asked for the box at Biggendorf's, they wouldn't even understand what you meant. Oh, Kit, it's such wonderful weather. If only I could go outdoors. Yours, Anne.